abdominal snowman instead of the abominable snowman. And then he's got a six-pack of abs. I thought it was clever. Apparently not, no one's laughing. So we're in Unit 2 now. So anything that you need in terms of handouts or things that you missed, look in the Unit 2 folder. This is Lesson 1. I called it the abdominal snowman just because I used that picture, but we're just going to talk about some basics about muscles first. So the first thing that I want us to think about is what happens in your body. So when I say us, I mean us, humans. What functions do muscles help us perform? Go first and tell me what they said. What do muscles help you do? Madison. Definitely move. If you put anything that means moving, like speaking, walking, kicking a ball, playing a sport, those are all movements. So muscles move you. There's even quite a few, there's a commercial, your muscles move you, but they can only move you if they don't hurt you. So muscles help you move. That would definitely be one of the main functions that we will discuss in this particular chapter, is the idea of movement. Now, does anyone have other things besides moving on their list? Absolutely breathing. You would not be able to breathe if it were not for your diaphragm. Let me tell you a fun story. If I taught you grade 10, you already heard this. When I had my baby, they gave me an epidural because I asked for it because it hurts. And then they decided I needed a C-section. And so they got to give you a high dose so that you're numb on the bottom of your body so they can cut whatever they're going to cut. But when they did it, the anesthesiologist even said to me, I'm not confident. I am not sure if I got it in the right spot. They did a bunch of tests. They thought it was okay. Turns out it was in wrong, and when they put the anesthesia in, it went up to my diaphragm. So I'm laying there, like ready to have my baby. I'm asking the doctor, can I watch? I don't want you to put the curtain up. I want to see it happen. And he's like, you're crazy. Don't do that. And all of a sudden, I'm like I couldn't breathe. And so I hit him, and they thought I was just having like a little panic attack. So the nurse puts like the oxygen mask on me, like, oh, you're just like hyperventilating a little bit here, let me help you out. I hit her too, and then I woke up and had a baby. That's how it happened. So yeah, so I stopped breathing because the anesthesia hit my diaphragm and I was no longer able to make my lungs expand and relax, so I couldn't breathe. So they had to, I'm assuming they intubated me and took my baby out. I'm assuming it's my daughter. I never actually saw her come out. The nurse told my husband it was a boy, and he was like, what? Are you sure? And then she was like, oh, I'm sorry, it's a girl. So we're pretty sure. We're pretty sure she's ours. Anybody else have another suggestion for what muscles do? They definitely pump blood. So if you put anything about circulation, like your heart, and it's not just your heart, hey? You have muscles inside your arteries that are helping blood move along. Even in your legs, when you're just moving your leg back and forth, your skeletal muscles are helping blood come back up to your heart from the bottom of your body. So it's good to like wiggle your toes and jiggle your foot when you're sitting for a long period of time. You're actually helping your circulatory system. Anything else? Someone had this next one I'm thinking of here. Digestion. There we go. Muscles help you eat. If it were not for muscles, food that goes in your mouth would never get to your stomach because gravity doesn't take it there. Muscle contractions in your esophagus push it down to your stomach. That's why you can eat upside down. Anybody got another? Yes, Madison. So we'll say like stability, and someone else, I forget, I think it was you, Emily, had the word balance on their sheet. Even if you're not moving, your muscles are helping you do that. So your muscles can keep you stable or they can move you. The last thing that I want to put on the list down here is the idea of excretion. I'm sure you have all, at some point in your life, held your pee. You did that because there are muscles controlling the entry and exit of urine from your bladder onto your urethra and out of your body. And by making this list, stability and balance and movement kind of go together. That's chapter 10. We're going to do that right now. Breathing is chapter 7. Pumping blood. Chapter 8, digestion. Chapter 6, excretion. Chapter 9, muscles are involved with every single other thing that we are going to talk about. So, one of the things that we'll do when we get to the end of the unit on physiology, where we talk about all of these things, is I'm going to get you to do sort of a project-y type thing, and I want you to see right away muscles are involved with everything. You don't have muscles, none of these other systems work. Does anyone want to ask any questions there? So, we can't talk about physiology without talking about my most favorite biology word, homeostasis. Homeo means constant, stasis means state or conditions. So the definition of homeostasis is, for us, because we're doing human physiology, having constant internal conditions in the human body. Now, does anyone, I think I've said it once, does anyone remember a way that muscles help you do this? Constant internal state? So I'll give you one really good example, and the example is shivering. Muscle contractions produce heat, and if you are too cold, you shiver because your body's temperature is too low and your body is trying to make you warmer. And the reason shivering works is because shivering is actually tiny little muscle contractions. Muscle contractions produce heat. So later, on a unit test or a final exam, when I ask you about homeostasis, this could be an example that you use. Now, since muscles play a role in every other system, you could theoretically link muscles to homeostasis for anything. So since muscles help digestion, you could say muscles sort of indirectly help you maintain your blood sugar level because muscles are helping you eat. But this is a really direct link between muscles and homeostasis. It's the idea of shivering. So the next thing that we'll talk about is the types of muscle cells that exist. One of them is the type that we're going to focus on the most because we're going to talk about movement in this chapter. But so you know, there are 3 basic types of muscle cells. Cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, which is also called striated muscle, and smooth muscle. Now the picture that's on the left, there's a picture like this in your textbook as well. But we're going to sum up some basic facts about each type of muscle cell. The first of them is location, like where would I find such a muscle? Cardiac is the most obvious. It is found in your heart and only there. That's the only place that you find cardiac muscle. That's why it's called cardiac. Skeletal muscle can be called striated muscle, but I actually like skeletal better because it tells you where it is. It is attached to bones. So the picture that you colored yesterday had a muscle attached to a bone. This is the type of muscle that helps you move. It's the one that we'll focus on the most in this chapter. Smooth muscle you find in your internal organs. The idea with smooth muscle, for example, in the picture, it's showing your stomach, is that it's not muscles that you are generally in control of. So the difference between skeletal and smooth muscle, aside from where they are, is that smooth muscle is generally involuntary. Like you don't have control over it. You're not making it contract. Your brain is controlling it automatically. Whereas skeletal muscle, the one that's attached to bones, This is what we would call voluntary. These are the muscles that you can move purposefully. Now, in terms of the function really goes along with location. So since cardiac muscles are in your heart, their function is to help with circulation, to make your heart beat. The function of skeletal muscles, like I said, is to move your limbs, to move you. And the function of smooth muscle, because it can be found in more than one organ, would be things like digestion, respiration, and some parts of circulation because there are muscles in places other than your heart. For example, your arteries have muscles. Now, you could distinguish the types of muscles based on where they are or what they do, but you could also distinguish them based on their appearance. And so you have a little picture over here, and I'm going to sum up two key things about their appearance that would distinguish them. If you look at these first two types, cardiac and skeletal muscle, you'll see that they both have stripes on them. So they are both what we call striated. Striated means stripes. Smooth muscles, hence their name, their surface is smooth, they don't have striations. The other thing that you can look at are these purple circles. Those represent a nucleus. Skeletal muscle cells are multinucleated. They have more than one nucleus in them. So, you could distinguish them based on how they look. Smooth muscle cells have no striations and have one nucleus. So if we want to fill in that box, we could just say they don't have striations and they're not multinucleated. They have one. Skeletal muscle, like I said, is striated and multinucleated. Cardiac muscle is striated but has one nucleus. So there are three types. The type that we will discuss in detail are the skeletal muscles in this chapter, and then we'll talk about other muscles when we get to some of the other chapters. Does anyone have any questions here? So we know what muscles do, we know about homeostasis, we know what types of muscle cells there are. The next thing is the idea of cooperation. What does the word cooperation mean? It literally means work together. So skeletal muscles have to work together. They do not function by themselves. And the reason this is true is that they cannot push. A skeletal or striated muscle, the ones that are attached to your bones, they can only pull. The pull comes when a muscle contracts. So if I had one lone muscle, it could contract, but that's it. For me to create movement, I have to have a pair of muscles. So muscles always come in groups of two. And this is true for humans, or if you see on my little example there, anything that has muscles that come in pairs for movement. So there's like an insect like there too. And the big main idea is that each time one of the muscles contracts, the other relaxes. So the example that I'll show you is what's on the picture there, your quadriceps and your hamstring. Your hamstring technically is called your biceps femoris. Biceps and then femoris for femur, because that's the bone that it's attached to. But your quad and your hamstring are on the front and back of your leg. For your leg to be able to move and do a kick motion, so if you want to kick something in front of you or kick your own butt, those two muscles have to be working in pairs. So that would be one example. A similar example would be your biceps and your triceps. So that's the front and back of your upper arm. So here's the idea. If I want to kick forward, like a person kicking a soccer ball, let's say, that means that I am pushing my leg out. If I want to kick backwards, like kicking my own butt, it means I'm pulling my leg up. To kick forward, your quadricep has to contract and your hamstring has to relax. And then to kick backward, it would be the opposite way. But the idea is they can't both be contracting, no movement would happen. They can't both be relaxing, again, no movement would happen. So if I was going to ask a question about this on a test, let's say, I would always make some of the wrong choices. For example, say they're both contracting or they're both relaxing. So as long as you know the key idea, one contracts while the other one relaxes, then you can eliminate incorrect choices right away. Does anyone want to ask any questions there? So the next thing is actually the picture that you guys already colored yesterday. And since we are quickly going to run out of time, we'll pick up at that picture in our class on Tuesday.